Originally, the Concord Early Access Beta was planned for players who pre ordered the game. It's probably not a good sign if Sony had to open up the beta to all PlayStation Plus members because not enough people pre ordered the title. I honestly wasn't interested in this game, but as a first party PlayStation title, I thought I'd give it a shot. The first game from new Sony studio Firewalk is a product that resembles a certain comic book movie franchise and also resembles a few popular gaming franchises. Let's get right into it. Ever since the newest trailer at PlayStation's State of Play, the game and the dialogue is very Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, one of the characters is named Starchild. On the gameplay side, the best way I can describe it is a combination of Overwatch and Destiny. The abilities and heroes is very Overwatch, and the gameplay is very Destiny. As someone who has never played Overwatch but put many hours into Destiny, I got you-know-what handed to me when I first started my first few matches. I died a lot and had trouble with the movement styles of each of the characters, the aim assist, and the general feel of shooting. It didn't make the best first impression, but the more I played, the more I started to understand what the game was wanting me to do. For example, you don't regenerate health normally in this game. Some characters have abilities that you can heal, but most times you'll need to find a health terminal to get back up to full strength. Once I started realizing that I should probably retreat and heal in situations versus pushing the objectives, it made firefights so much easier. I wasn't being outgunned in every encounter with an enemy. It's a 5v5 shooter, and from some of my observations, if two players of the same skill level start shooting each other at the same time, it really just comes down to who has more health than the other guy. This somewhat takes some of the skill factor out of the game in my eyes every now and again, but when I was low on health or the opponent was low on health, whoever had more health at the time usually won the battle. I suppose this is where teamwork comes in. It's generally not smart to run in the direction by yourself and expect to be successful. The maps are somewhat big, but not too big, so a teammate is usually nearby. It's highly unlikely that if you run into a 1v2 matchup that you'll survive. The game has a how to play section, and honestly, I took a look at it and said, yeah, I'm not reading that. I suppose that's my fault for not knowing how to play, but I'd rather just get in there and learn rather than read. I'm more of a hands-on learner. Once actually in the game and seeing the amount of characters and abilities tied to those characters there are, that's when I started learning the game. Oftentimes I'd select a new character and have no idea what the abilities or passive abilities were. But once I started playing with the characters and reading their abilities list, it got better. Honestly, a few characters I'd use the abilities and read the description of what they did, and I still had no idea. Jumping into the game is definitely a learning process, and I'd honestly just recommend picking a character and sticking with it. Try not to abandon the character too soon, and try a bunch of different characters with abilities you know nothing about. The first hero that the game shows you on the character select screen is Teo. If you are coming from a Call of Duty or Battlefield setting, this is the character you'd most be familiar to start with, and it worked for me. Teo has an assault rifle, a sidearm, grenades on the R1, and a smoke bomb on L1. Sound familiar? It's a good character to start learning the ropes with. He's not the strongest character, but a good learner character. Maybe think of him as a Ryu or Scorpion in a fighting game. Lennox was another character I tried for a bit. He has a throwable exploding knife that inflicts a lot of damage if it hits, and he has the ability to heal himself. The gun he uses is what other games might call a hand cannon, and is fairly accurate too. I couldn't tell if I was just good with him, or he was seriously overpowered in the beta. There are many more heroes I could go on about, but just wanted to give you an introduction of what some of them were like. Each character has their own health total as well, so the bigger heroes will take more damage, and the smaller ones will have lower amounts of health. Another mechanic that I almost forgot about and honestly forgot to use too often is a dodge. It's mapped to the circle button on PS5 and has a cooldown specific to each hero. The character Hyps, or HYPS, has an ability in which executing a dodge will actually turn the character invisible for a short amount of time. This will allow you to get into a better position or the opportunity to get away from a fight. Dodging is an integral part of the game. And I think the more I played, the more I used it, but I didn't end up using it too often, and I really didn't see other players utilizing it much in my matches. I only played the two main modes so far in the beta. Takedown is your normal team deathmatch, while Trophy Hunt, not those kind of trophies, resemble more of a kill confirmed from Call of Duty. Killing enemies drops an icon, pick it up to score a point for your team. I've always liked these kind of modes in other multiplayer games. I put about 10 plus hours into X-Define and almost exclusively played that mode. There is a mode where you don't respawn and other modes will be added in time, but those modes aren't really for me and I didn't dabble in them. Playing on PS5, I thought I'd mention some of the DualSense support. Depending on the character, little taps can be felt in the controller when sprinting, and the adaptive triggers felt really good when shooting opponents. I know many competitive players will turn these features off, but as a casual multiplayer player like myself, I enjoyed their inclusion. As I mentioned, I played the beta on PS5, but I think this game would be best on PC. And given how many players on Steam were playing the beta, it doesn't seem to be doing too well. It's peaking at a little over 100 players when the beta was going on. When looking at the beta as a whole, I've enjoyed my time the more I played. There's a job board where you can complete daily, weekly, and seasonal challenges, and unlocking these challenges after a match is pretty satisfying. Same with ranking up, the music, the sounds, the visuals of leveling up, I found to be a little addicting. Judging by the menus, there will be a lot of cosmetics to unlock, and with an increase of maps and modes, I think this can be a pretty solid shooter with good content for its $40 price tag. Many games today have strong launches, but the support dries up pretty quickly, and then the game dies. If Firewalk and PlayStation can keep the support coming, I think there's a solid game here. But judging by the pre-orders at the moment, however, keeping players won't be the problem. It's getting them in the door.